You know those moments where it feels like everything is falling apart? Your friendships feel weird, relationships are ending, your nervous system feels fried, money seems to be going out the window, and all of your old patterns just keep on coming up again for you to relook at. What if I was to tell you that this is actually the key to your biggest expansion? It all depends what you do in these moments. I call these moments the void, and the void will often happen before a big quantum leap. People often call it the quantum crumble before the quantum leap, where basically all of the old things that you need to let go of come back up again for you to release. It is a very normal part of this process, but it is very easily forgotten. And people often think that when things start to feel hard, that there is something going wrong. And I'm here to remind you that actually, when things feel hard, it can be a really good sign that you're on the right track. The reason being, everything that is good in your life comes off the back of a period of hard work. It comes off a period of discomfort. Anything that is worth having, you had to work through. You had to work for. You had to work through something. You needed to allow yourself to go through pain and discomfort so that you could have what it is that you have today. And a lot of these things you maybe take for granted. But whether that is you birthed a human, what did you need to go through? You needed to go through a long period of your entire body changing through discomfort, through confusion, through your emotions, going through a lot of different elements and phases to actually giving birth into what could be described as one of the most painful things that women specifically can endure in this lifetime, if we allow ourselves to believe that way. But actually, a lot of people think that pregnancy and birth is actually our bodies being initiated and going through healing. We are purging out a load of things that don't serve us. You feel a bit of morning sickness, you get to throw that up. It's very efficient, actually. And it is our programming around how we look at the bad side or the discomfort of pregnancy that makes it harder than it has to be. Pregnancy is just one example, though. If you go to the gym and you have been on a fitness journey for a period of time, you will remember the very hard period at the very beginning of your fitness journey when everything aches. You go through different levels and you need to push your body to places it hasn't been before, and that can be incredibly hard, not only in the moment when you're doing it, but for potentially a couple of days afterwards as your muscles are healing. It is very normal to experience that discomfort. But not only that, when we get into a relationship, a lot of people have this idea that it's meant to be this really beautiful butterfly and roses thing right from the beginning, and although that can sometimes be the case, it's not the case for everyone. Myself and my partner are a really great example of this. We have an incredible relationship to this day, but we actually went through about 3 years of discomfort, of needing to reestablish boundaries and healing ourselves so that we could actually be together. We went through a period of pain to have the relationship that we now have. This is the same for pretty much anything good that happens in life. We sometimes need to go through pain and discomfort in order to hold it. And the same thing goes for manifestation. Whatever you are manifesting in right now, however big it is, there is going to be a period of time where you may have to go through something uncomfortable, painful, or a load of resistance in order to actually have that thing. And that is because in that resistance and discomfort is where we grow, number one. So you will first of all be allowing yourself to expand into an entirely new identity purely by going through and sitting in that resistance. That is where we literally grow and evolve and become a different person. So that's the first part. But on top of that, it shows us all of the areas that we still have to heal. And so if we are going through a period and we're working towards a manifestation that requires us to step up, to become a new version of ourselves, if the version of us today can't hold it, we need to somehow become that person. And so how does the universe allow us to do that? By showing us all of the shit that is blocking us. That comes up in triggers, that comes up in relationships breaking down, jobs being swept out from underneath our feet because they are no longer serving us, houses that are no longer energetically serving us, suddenly needing you to be evicted for some reason. All of these things happen because it's preparing you for something bigger. None of these things have to be bad, but if you become a victim to them, they will become bad. You see, when you do deep healing, like the Inner Manifestation brand teaches you to do, which goes beyond just surface level healing, Surface level healing is doing affirmations, self-concept work, which can be incredibly powerful, but typically won't change your nervous system, which is actually the main place that we manifest from, that entirely lives in the body, not in the mind. So although surface level hacks and like little fun games can be fun to manifest in, like an extra $100, extra $1,000 here, which great. But if you want to change your life, you are going to need to go deeper, and that is where the deep healing comes in. Now, deep healing is always going to come with discomfort because you are literally shaking up your entire system. You are completing fight or flight responses. I want you to imagine or remember a period where potentially you had a disagreement with someone. Can you remember how emotionally exhausting that was for you to go through? How maybe your body went into a feeling of feeling depleted afterwards, and you maybe even had a couple of days where you really struggled to kind of bounce back. That is literally because of the energetic releasing of hormones, cortisol, adrenaline, but also because things are being reshuffled in that. You have literally expelled a load of energy. Now, when we go into intentional healing, when we go into a breath work, when we do inner child healing, when we even do full-on tapping, sometimes we have an integration period. That integration period is essentially where we are reorganizing and reshuffling our entire internal world, and then the universe responds by starting to change our external world. Deep healing is the only way that you will literally quantum shift your entire reality, because you are changing your DNA. When you do this kind of work, this deep, deep, deep healing, you aren't just changing surface level things. You are changing and rewiring your entire mind. If you want to learn more about the science, I highly recommend reading any of Dr. Joe Dispenza's books, because he goes into in depth the kind of quantum science behind all of this stuff. And there is a lot of it. But what's really interesting with healing is that whether you are doing tapping, whether you're doing breath work, there is typically a load of resistance that we have to overcome to even do the stuff, to even do the healing. So when you're in a breath work session, often you will experience a load of discomfort before you even get to the other side, which is then the integration. But the integration, which is basically as soon as you finish the session, it can be up to a week afterwards, usually around like 1 and 2 days, but depending on how big the session was, can last up to a week. That's where the real shifts and changes happen. And so in that period, it's really normal for you to feel low, for you to feel almost depressed, like more anxious, for old things to come up. And your job in this moment is to care for your human. In the Inner membership, we give you exercises to deal with these integration periods so that you can actually work with them instead of working against them. But it is actually a vital part of us recalibrating our entire nervous system. So there are 2 breakthroughs that happen when you do this kind of healing. Breakthrough number 1 is actually in the session. That's where you break through the resistance to get to the kind of bliss that you may experience on the other side. And the second breakthrough typically happens once integration has completed. That's where all of your energy has reset, has reacclimatized into your new environment, and that is then when your new reality starts to shift. So with manifestation and quantum physics, we attract who we are. So if you have just changed yourself in an intense healing session, your external reality is going to start to shift, and it can start to shift very quickly. But what's very interesting is sometimes these shifts don't feel necessarily great to start with, because in order for you to live the entirely new life that you want to live, that's on your vision board, whether that's a new relationship, the new job, living in a new house, a really beautiful house, living in a new country, or starting a new business, your current reality will need to shift. And if you have any fear around shifting, and maybe you're holding off shifting it because you're like, oh, you know, this is comfortable, this is safe. As humans, we love to feel safe. And so anything that pushes us outside of our comfort zone is really hard for us to sometimes get on board with, because it doesn't feel good all of the time. But that resistance and pushing outside of the comfort zone is actually a really important part of the evolution process. If we don't want to make that move, the universe will do it for us. And it will literally pull the metaphorical rug from underneath our feet, and will often put us through a lot of pain because we aren't willing to do it ourselves. But it's doing it in your highest good. It's doing it in your highest favor, because the universe has a far grander plan than you can even consciously be aware of right now. Because remember, in the quantum field, there is no such thing as time. So although we are going through a linear process of, I go through this healing, and then I integrate, and then I wait this period of time, and then my new reality shows up in the quantum, it all just happens at once. So if you change your state today, your future changes instantaneously. But we just have that period of time where everything has to reshuffle. We have to go through that linear time. When it feels like things are being taken, that is exactly when things are actually slotting into place. You just need to surrender to it, because I promise you the universe is conspiring to help you in ways that you can't even imagine right now. And I'm going to tell you a story because that really allows these things to really anchor in. 6 years ago, I was a completely different person. I was an alcoholic. I was chronically 20K in debt. I was consistently stringing bad luck along. I was in really unhealthy, toxic relationships that I just couldn't seem to escape. If I was given everything that I have now, the 7-figure business, the multi-million-dollar home, millions in equity, if I was given all of that now, would my nervous system back then have been able to handle it? I can tell you for free, not a chance. I was terrified of people judging me. I couldn't show up to do the day operations of running a 7-figure business. I just couldn't have done that. What needed to happen is I needed to break apart every single aspect of who I was so that I could create the foundation to build what I have today on top of. I needed to move location. So I needed to move from the UK to Australia because the UK wasn't serving me. I couldn't grow in that location. I needed to get to a place where it was more fruitful for me to be able to heal, so that my healing journey could begin. It allowed me to quit drinking alcohol when I made that. And that was another fork in the road moment where I really needed to make a decision to better my life, because the alcoholic version of me wouldn't be able to do what I am doing here today. I also had severe social anxiety. So at one stage, my social anxiety had to get so bad where it felt like everything was crumbling that it forced me to make a decision. Something has to change. And that's when I started improv classes and went on the healing journey to reconnect my brain and my mouth. I'm literally sat here riffing to the camera right now, which is something I would never have been able to do if I was given this opportunity 6 years ago. The point that I'm trying to make here is, who you are today may not be able to hold what it is that you want tomorrow, but what needs to happen is you need to break down and let go of all of the parts of you that are no longer in alignment with where you want to go. And that sometimes looks like having to go through periods of pain so that you can evolve. You need to heal the anxiety. You might need to leave the job. You might need to leave the relationship. Certain friendships may need to end so that you can hold what it is that you want to create. All of those things by themselves are quite painful. It's painful to go through and it doesn't always make sense, but there is a bigger reason for it happening. And when you really think about all of the hard things that have happened to you, can you honestly tell me that there's not been some kind of gift or wisdom lying in the center of it? Can you honestly tell me that it hasn't actually been some sort of initiation to where you are today? We can either allow our pain to define us, or we can allow it to transform us and initiate us. And that's often what these painful periods are. The breakdown before the breakthrough is necessary because you are creating the vessel that can hold everything that you want. Expanding your capacity doesn't come through just sitting in peace and joy all the time. It comes through meeting your darkest parts. It comes through sitting in the pain and discomfort and choosing to meet yourself and heal at the deepest level over and over again. It requires you to meet your shadows, face your shadows straight on, and decide, I'm going to choose something different. I'm going to integrate this part. It requires you to let go of things that are no longer aligned, because you today may be sat here thinking, I need to hold on to this for whatever the reason is. But in holding on to that part and to that aspect of your life, you aren't allowing the new aspect and the new life to come through. So that's often why there are so many quantum crumbles before quantum leaps, because when it feels like it's not working, that's often exactly when it is working. So some of the things that can feel like punishment but are actually preparation can be some of the following. Friendships can suddenly start to feel out of alignment. Even ones that you have had for absolute years can suddenly start to feel heavy, draining, like you don't want to be around them as much, like there's suddenly judgment between you both. This is giving you an invitation for, is this relationship still aligned, or does this relationship need to shift? Because not every single relationship needs to be wound down or got rid of, but some of them may need to change. And that can be very uncomfortable for some people, because other people don't like us changing either. People would much prefer that we say the same that we had always been, because it disrupts their understanding of who you are as well and where you sit in their life. So when you start to take up more space, when you start to be more confident, that can often change the relationships you have with other people, because they aren't used to this new version of you. But your good friends will get used to it. Your good friends, the best friends, will support you no matter what you do. Those are the people worth keeping around. But the ones that don't support you, that can't support you, that make your changes personal to them and try to stop you and hold you back, you need to let that go, because that is going to block you from manifesting all of the things that I know you want to create. It can also be the same with relationships, with a partnership that you have potentially been in, whether it's a girlfriend or a boyfriend, in whatever capacity. If it feels like suddenly it's not working, or it suddenly feels out of alignment, or you're starting to doubt whether this is the one, this is where you really need to go hard into understanding, is this the person that I'm able to grow with? Because what you want is a partner you can grow with. And if that partner is trying to hold you back from doing the things that you want to do, it does beg the question, is this an aligned relationship, or is it holding you back? Again, you don't need to switch off or dial down any relationships that you don't want to, but it is a necessary part to do an evaluation of which relationships are holding you back. And it's incredibly painful if it is one that is personal to you. I actually went through this with my own partner, where I started posting on social media for starting this new business, and my partner, it triggered all of his perfectionism, and he started projecting a lot of his stuff onto me. And I established a boundary and I blocked him, and we were living together. I just blocked him. I was like, nah, I'm not going to be on the receiving end of your projections. You can go and heal in your own time, but this is what I need to do. This is important to me, and you are not going to stop me. And so there is just an importance that you can continue to take the action that you need to take to create the reality that you want to live without being held back by someone. And if you can establish boundaries and they respect those boundaries, no problem. But it's when someone doesn't respect your boundaries, or tries to keep you small and suppress you, and doesn't respect your desires, that's when things can start to become a little bit of a problem. Another one, you can suddenly feel the urge to move, or you're suddenly forced to, like you need to be evicted from your current house really, really fast for no reason. When this happens, you really need to embrace that this is happening for you. I truly, truly believe that the universe is being like, you are no longer meant to be in this space. You are meant to be over here. Embrace that. Look for the gift in it, because I promise you something better is coming your way. But this is often a really big aspect of changing things, because if you are in a space energetically that is no longer serving you, with stagnant energy, or that is holding you back in some capacity, because every single home that we are in, every room that we are in, carries a vibrational signature. And so it could be the situation or the location that you are in doesn't quite align with where you need to go. And you can look at your astrocartography for this on a more broader geological term, but just in terms of like how you feel when you enter a room, like if suddenly you start to feel really small and like claustrophobic when you come into your house, that's the way that you're going to be showing up in the rest of the world. And so sometimes you need to break out and break free of the current situation that you're in to make space for the living situation that you are meant to be in. Another one is money can suddenly dry up, or unexpected bills can come in. That is often to do with money that's come in out of alignment way, because there is something called happy money and sad money. There's actually a book called Happy Money, highly recommend, that talks about the energetic frequency that money has when it's in our bank account. So typically if money is going out literally randomly and it never happens to you, it could be that it's sad money and it needs to just energetically leave your bank account so that fresh money can come in. If you are constantly getting bills that are coming out of nowhere, that is probably because your debt thermostat is set to debt or a certain level, and you need to actually increase your capacity. I will do an entirely different episode of that in the future. But if you suddenly find that jobs dry up, or toxic clients are suddenly, they just decide they want to leave, this can actually be a really good sign, because it is making space for new people to come in, for new aligned jobs to come in. So if you're actually let go from a job, this can actually be a really good sign, because it shows that energetically you're making space for the right job to come to you. What you need to do is detach from the timeline, stop trying to control it so much, take the action that you need to take to attract in the jobs, but not be so fixated on when it's going to come, because that's up to the universe. Another thing can be opportunities that fall through, opportunities that you just had your heart set on. There are really big reasons for sometimes you not needing to be in a space. I truly believe that if something didn't work out, there's a reason that you weren't meant to go there that is far greater than you even know about. You need to trust that and try not to get into your head or into victim mindset that it's happening to you. It's happening for you. Everything that I am listing right now is happening for you. And finally, if you get health symptoms that randomly come out, or you get sick, or You're going through like a purge. I truly believe that this is also energetically making space in your body and releasing stagnant energy, very similar to how we do with healing. When you are crying, you're releasing tears, you're literally releasing energy, you're regulating yourself. The same goes with sickness. Our body is always trying to communicate with us. And if we allow it to, and we surrender to the sickness, it will clear space so that more fresh energy can come through. This can actually be an incredibly expansive period where you literally shift identities purely because of your body's wisdom, but you need to surrender to the process. All of these things are invitations. They are invitations that you are being initiated into. They are invitations for you to let go, for you to surrender, for you to release control and trust that there is a reason for everything that you are going through. The quantum crumble doesn't have to be an incredibly painful period. It can be a period of expansion. Because whenever we are in a period of destruction, just like fire is destructive in nature, but what comes on the other side of fire is rebirth, is regrowth. Often destruction is making space for fertile soil to grow so that you can grow and develop into the biggest, best version of yourself yet. Now, if you are in the Inner Manifestation membership, we have an extended version where we are going to be giving you journaling prompts to support you through these painful periods. And I'm going to be giving you some insight into how you can actually start to emotionally regulate yourself through these periods so that you can break through faster, because surrender is really the key word here. Whatever you resist persists. So if you are in the membership, I will see you in there for the full extended version. If you want to sign up, this is a 12-month membership designed to help you become the version of yourself that can hold everything that it is that you desire. The money, the visibility, the success, the relationships, the love, you name it, we are manifesting it in that space. This isn't surface level manifestations. This is deep inner healing work about completely changing your internal identity so that your outer reality literally quantum shifts. If you want to be a different person in 1 year from today, you want to sign up to this membership for a very low cost per month. Or you can pay in full for 12 months and get 2 months for free. We have left all of the information about the membership below. Any questions that you have, you can direct them to the Instagram in or manifestation. And if not, I will see you in the next episode. Happy manifesting, and remember to find awe daily. Bye guys.